So it's been a minute since I've done one of these. A lot of things happened in October, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to continue this show and avoid the mess that is YouTube's copyright policy. There was a lot of interesting movies that came out this Halloween. There was The Witches remake on HBO, which suffers from the problem I have with most movies that have Anne Hathaway in it. It has Anne Hathaway in it. She just tried too hard to outdo Angelica Houston. That's just my take, though. The movie also had some general cringe, and I hate the CGI. But all in all, it wasn't a bad remake. You weren't here to listen to me talk about cutesy movies, though, are you? Let's get to the meat and potatoes. There was a collection of horror films the Blumhouse put out on Amazon. Welcome to the Blumhouse. Not sure if I can get away with doing a full video on each of these, but I'll touch on each of them briefly. I watched all of them. The Black Box, Nocturum, The Lie, The Evil Eye, and they all have merit, but none of them are what I would call horror. The Black Box was a good sci-fi drama with some horror elements. I enjoyed it for what it was, but I wouldn't say that this movie even gets a little creepy. There are these moments in the guy's head that a thing comes after him, but it doesn't really have any presence other than just a cracky and unnatural moving thing. Maybe I'm just too desensitized by all this shit now. As a low-tech sci-fi film, it's not bad at all. There's a great twist in it, and I love the father-daughter relationship. It has a 76% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I'd say that's a pretty fair rating. I liked it. I'll probably never watch it again. Evil Eye was a little boring, but it had a decent mother-daughter relationship in it. Spoilers. I liked the theme about how there will always be evil men, and we need to tell our daughters to watch out for them. It's more about one guy specifically being reincarnated to get the girls in a specific family, but I think we can widen our scopes out to evil men in general. There's this weird thing about always listening to your parents in there. I don't know if I'm personally a fan of that message. I feel like if my mom told me that my fiance was the reincarnation of her past lover out to get her, I would probably think she needs some help too. It got a 47% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I'm not sure that's a fair score. It looked good, sounded good, the editing was good, the acting was good, and I like the duality of India and the USA, even though I think they forgot how time zones worked in a few scenes. It's a slow burn, and it didn't really have any horror elements in it other than abuse, which I admit is pretty horrible. I wouldn't waste my time on it if I were you, but there's a decent melodrama, and it sort of stuck with me for being a little different. Nocturnum was the one that I wanted to watch the least. Looking at the trailer, Rosalie and I thought that we were going into a Black Swan ripoff. It wasn't, but it also was a little. It's about an art school and the struggle of trying to ascend to greatness and all the pressures that go along with that. There's a heavy dose of nihilism at the end, and I think the ending of the film is sort of up for interpretation. As someone who went to art college, not art high school, I related to it quite a bit. I saw a lot of what it was trying to say, and I enjoyed the nihilistic tone at the end. Once it was over, it didn't really stick. Also, it isn't much of a horror movie, more of a melodrama about jealous twins. It's pretty predictable, but I found myself enjoying the themes. This movie has a 62% on Rotten Tomatoes. The last one of the series that I watched was The Lie. The Lie reminded me of Prisoners, but not nearly as smart. It has a 42% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I say that that's just not fair. I think people forget that they're watching fiction. The events that happen in The Lie are the absolute worst case scenario. Stupid people making stupid choices, and most of the complaints on Rotten Tomato are just people complaining that the characters acted too stupid. I think that we forget sometimes that stupid people do exist, and crazier and dumber things have happened in real life than what happened in this movie. I think this movie's criticism suffers from the don't look in the closet scenario. Yes, we know the danger is there. We know that the characters are acting stupid, but if they made the right decisions, we wouldn't have a horror movie, now would we? I thought The Lie was fun, and as someone who doesn't mind when we get the bad worst case ending for the characters, I thought it was fine, especially because they get what you fucking deserve. Sure, if you look into it a little hard, the story falls apart a bit, but again, I had a good time, and whether or not I was entertained and enjoyed the ride is the most important part of a film for me. Welcome to the Blumhouse is mediocre as a whole. I feel like it's more boring than exciting, and it's definitely not the scare fest I was hoping for when I saw the trailers. It's worth your time, but know what you're getting into. I watched all 4 movies back to back. I feel like The Lie was the one that really stood out to me, so take that for what it is. There are 2 more movies that really stood out to me this October. The Mortuary collection, that rightfully sits at a 96%, and The Haunt, which came out last year, but man, it was fucking good. I'm planning on doing a video on both of these in the next few months, so be prepared for that. Also, I'm making a video where I talk defensively about a movie that I thought was going to be a total disaster, but in the end, I didn't hate it, and that's Polaroid. Don't come at me in the comments. I'll defend myself in the actual videos, and you can be rude to me there. Now, there was one other film I really wanted to watch this October, but it was only in theaters, and there's a little thing going on right now that made me not want to go. Come Play came out only in theaters this October, and it's a shame because I really wanted to see it. It's even harder now that Regal and Cinemax have closed down. In fact, I think there's only one theater even open in my area right now. That's my October recap. I'm hoping to put out videos more frequently, so look out for those. I'm kind of hoping that I can get away with just talking about movies not produced by a major distributor and using more of my own animations. We'll see what happens.